Hey, Mr. Lewis, welcome back to KEEL. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Good morning.
Okay, so I want you and Erin, having both made public records requests in the matter regarding the supposed, that's not fair, the rumored DUIs by Mayor Perkins. I'm going to talk to Erin first here. What did you get back? What did you ask for? What have they sent you?
They have sent, essentially, I got an email back that said there was no video recordings, no dash cam recordings. They've sent, I actually haven't picked my full piece up yet because I haven't gone down there, but I have to go down. Plus, I'm using other reporters who are sharing their information, and Lewis is sharing some information with me. I don't really want to read all this garbage.
Lewis, you've read all that garbage. What have you found out?
Well, there's not a whole lot of information on the audio recordings that were provided to us by the city attorney's office through the Shreveport Police Department. But I think more interesting is not necessarily what's on those audio recordings, but what isn't. And so with respect to those audio files, the city attorney's office provided those audio files, which are basically recordings between police officers and dispatch during certain hours on April the 5th, July the 4th, and July the 9th.
Excuse me just a second. You said, pardon me. You said what's interesting is what's not on those recordings. What's not on the recordings?
What's not on the recordings are any interaction or conversations between Shreveport Police Dispatch and Shreveport Police officers between the times of 2:20 a.m. and 3:05 a.m. on April the 5th. There are absolutely no recordings available on the thumb drives that were provided to us.
Oh, we're losing you. We're losing you.
So that is what is interesting, is that it has been alleged that Mayor Perkins was, in fact, pulled over at or around 2:30 a.m. on April the 5th. Mayor Perkins is already in.
Hang on just a
your
second.
phone's
again.
really
Hang on,
in fact, pulled over.
Okay,
so the big question is, where is this missing 45 minutes of audio?
Erin, you've made dozens, if
Yes.
not, how many total, would you say 25, 50, 30?
Over the years, dozens.
Okay.
Lewis, my issue here is, and I've been told what I need to do by an attorney and by a former police officer, is you don't want what they send you on the thumb drive. You want to go down and request to listen to the recordings yourself in person, which I have done. I have requested that. Now I've been told I need to put it in a public record, because when they send you the thumb drive, they redact some things that may still be public record. But they do that. That's what I was told by I'm not going to get any closer than that. But if you go down and say you want to listen to these dates, these hours from these districts between these times, they have to let you listen to it. So I have requests. First, I went to Martha Carter through the 911 center. She sent me to the police guy who finally answered me yesterday and said, you have to do it in a public records request, and it has to go to this person, and then we will make the recordings available to you. Now, I still think they're probably going to try to put it on a thumb drive, but I want to go physically to the state. How long is that going to take me, Lewis?
It's going to take you a little while. I mean, obviously, at least for those number of hours that you might be interested in. But here's the thing. Everyone knows what we're asking for. And when I say by everyone, I mean the city attorney's office knows what we're asking for.
Yes.
The Shreveport Police Department knows what we're asking for. Why is there this cat and mouse game? Why does Mayor Perkins say, go research it? Go find the evidence. And yes, I get that. But, that's kind of like the man that's cheating on his wife and has a separate credit card account and a separate cell phone. And he, the wife says, I really think you're cheating on me. And he goes, no, how could I? Call the credit card company, call the cell phone company, check all my records. Meanwhile, he's got this separate set of records that she doesn't know about. When all she really wants to know is, are you cheating on me? And that's what the people of Shreveport want to know. Mayor Perkins, are you cheating on us?
And he says he's been stopped, Lewis. He admits he was stopped. Does the police report of that exist at all? They know that's what we want. Send it. Well, or if there's no report, how is there not? That, to me, is a problem. If you pull a car over and there's no report of it, that's a problem for me.
And I've talked to some police officers, veteran police officers, who say, you know what, it's our discretion of whether to call it in. It's our discretion of whether to let someone go. Sometimes they would see someone that is prominent in the community. Sometimes they would see a dad that driving a minivan that they know that his family is depending on him, and they would let them go even if they were suspected of having something to drink, because they knew that family was depending on him.
But Lewis, isn't there a record that they at least pulled that car over? Because what if somebody in that car did officer harm?
No, I mean, that makes sense.
Officer getting down on Crockett Street with blah 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 something Tesla, and we get out 30 seconds later, he's gone. Officer back up, whatever it is, 10-100, or no, that's peeing. Whatever it is they get up to do.
It just doesn't always happen, and that's what police officers have said. They should do it, but it doesn't happen every single time.
So here's my question for Erin. Started a couple of seconds ago. After all the public records requests you've made through all the years, and the responses you've gotten, the types of responses you've gotten that you've received, and the timeliness or lack of timeliness that you've gotten the material back, is this situation unusual? And if it is, why?
Right now, I'm going to be quite honest with you, and Lewis can attest to this. The public records request process right now is worse than it's ever been. It's slower. By law, they have 3 days. They're not meeting that in many cases. And I anticipate somebody will likely file suit against them over it, because right now they're not following the law.
Do you think this is purposeful?
Lewis, you agree?
Pardon me just a second, and I want you both to answer.
Sure.
Do you think this is purposeful, or do you think it's like everything else, from the post office to UPS to, well, it's just COVID-19? Both of you answer, please.
Go ahead, Lewis.
I think it's speculative with respect to whether or not this is intentional or not. But if someone does file a lawsuit, the mayor, the chief of police, these police officers will all be called to testify in a hearing, and we'll get the truth that way. Now, if Mayor Perkins pleads the fifth, he can certainly do that, but at least he'll be on the record indicating whether or not this actually happened in the way that so many police officers, reliable law enforcement officers, have indicated to not only to KEEL, but to KTBS, to KSLA, to KTAL. I mean, this isn't a fabrication of all of these people's minds.
Why won't they come forward and let us name them? Why won't they do that?
My question. There are officers that Erin and I have known for decades who, bluntly speaking, have no love lost for this mayor, who will still tell us, no, it didn't happen.
They have retirement coming up for many of them, and their families, very frankly, are what come first in that regard.
Pardon me a second, Lewis. I'm going to ask you this question, and you can answer directly or you can work around. What you are implying, what I infer from what you're saying, is that the fix is in from top to bottom. Is that what you want me to believe?
I hope that's not the case. So far, yes. There's very little with respect to anyone is willing to say on the record. And so we've had to rely on public records requests, as Mayor Perkins has advised us through numerous interviews. Go look it up.
Okay.
Request all the public documents you want.
Just about a minute
Lewis,
here, kids.
One
Just about
more
60
thing
seconds.
That other people on the other side are saying, are your Republican Party chair still, or is that your official title?
It is.
These are Republican election tactics to bring down a real prominent Democrat.
But let me address that, because This issue should be important to everyone, whatever color or party they belong to. And here's why. We are in a culture right now where people are calling for defunding the police because of police brutality allegations, because of police corruption allegations. And if we can't rely on our police department to expose, to treat everyone equally under the law, what do we really have in this community, in this country? So we share the stage with those that are concerned about the police departments across our country. And this is an issue that Mayor Perkins ought to be the one leading the charge here to say we need to expose if there has been any preferential treatment of anyone in a position of power or privilege, because that's not how the system ought to work.
If it's not true, Lewis, if these allegations are absolutely false, would you put this past the Republicans of using this as some sort of tactic to get this out in our community?
I don't know anyone that has put anything out there that's a Republican. This isn't a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. Mayor Perkins, there are so many other issues, and very frankly, lack of accomplishments of this administration that if you were being partisan, you've got plenty of information to discuss. And this is something that, again, came from law enforcement. Mm-hmm. This was not something that was created. This has come from law enforcement, many of which have firsthand knowledge of the dash cam videos, of the audio, etc. So I don't see this as being any type of political operative out there that is writing this narrative and putting it out there for public consumption. If the law enforcement officers weren't providing that information, none of this would have any legs whatsoever.